Welcome to another episode of the Mixtape Matinee. I'm your host, Cole.
And I'm Court.
And we're excited to be coming back to you with another movie episode. This is the first movie episode of 2025, and super pumped for it. And we're excited for this year, guys. I mean, last year was fun. We went through 20 episodes, and we hope to go through a lot more this year, now that we have the full year ahead of us. So I'll just introduce the first movie that we'll be discussing today. This is one, also I want to start out, give a shout out to, there's this movie podcast that I follow that I really love. It's called the Pure Cinema Podcast, and those two guys on there, Elric and Brian, are they know a lot about movies, and they're actually the ones that how I discovered this movie that we're going to talk about today. It was on one of their episodes where they were talking about some of their discoveries, like new movies that they'd never heard of, that they watched for the first time, and this was on there. And so the movie that I picked is a movie from 1964, Nothing But a Man.
You gotta watch yourself pretty close. If you fellas stuck together instead of letting them walk all over you, they might not try it. They've been doing it all my life. Well, maybe it's time you stop letting them. You sound like a troublemaker.
And this is a independent drama that was directed by Michael Romer and also written by him alongside Robert M. Young. And the interesting thing about it, too, that I found out that Robert, so he wrote it, but he was also the cinematographer for the film.
Oh, really?
Which is kind of interesting, yeah. And the movie stars Ivan Dixon, who I was looking up, actually had, like, his background was in Broadway. And he went on to his most famous role was he played a recurring character on the TV show Hogan's Heroes. So I've never watched it, but I know that was a big one in the 70s. And then Abby Lincoln, who I didn't know this, she was a jazz singer. And so, yeah, and this was like one of her few kind of first roles that she did as far as acting. So I need to go back and listen to like her music that she did. But she was also, I guess, really an influential character in the civil rights movement of the 60s. So she used music to fight for equality. And then the other most notable actress in this film is Gloria Foster, which when we were watching it, I was like, isn't that the lady from The Matrix?
Yeah.
And we paused it and looked it up, and sure enough, she's the one that plays the Oracle in the first two Matrix movies. And obviously in this movie, she's a lot younger, but anyway, yeah. I was like, that kind of looks like her. And it blew me away. I didn't even know that. So it's kind of cool that she was in this film. So this film deals with a lot of themes about racism. I mean, to kind of break down the plot for you, it takes place in the 60s, and it's about an African-American man who works for the railroad, and he ends up working in this small town outside of Birmingham, Alabama, and he meets this woman who is the preacher's daughter, and he ends up falling in love with her, ends up marrying her, but then through no fault of his own, just because of his race, he kind of gets put into a box, and it's something that it's a box that he's not comfortable with, and so he does certain things. I mean, just trying to be a regular human being and trying to have equal rights, but the people in the town are racist, and so a lot of different things happen to him throughout the movie that is just heartbreaking. And then kind of near the end of the film, the film switches a little bit in its narrative, and it kind of focuses on the relationship that this man has with his father, who he didn't even really know, who is a drunk and who lives actually in Birmingham. And so that's kind of the plot, kind of basic summary of the film. And so if you're interested in that, definitely check this movie out if that sounds interesting to you. But this film I loved it. I think I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. It was great. The style of the film uh, is kind of, well, we looked it up, and it's something that's called realism, and just basically the style of it is there's a lot of handheld shots of the camera, and um, they would use like real on location shooting. So they would really be filming in, these houses or the city, or, wherever they're at. They're filming in these real places. And then another thing is they would try to use people that weren't trained actors. So to try to get that naturalistic feel for the movie. And I love the style of the film, and I looked it up, and the budget for the film was only $300,000. So really there wasn't that much to the film. And it was, it was first shown at the New York Film Festival. And when it came out, there wasn't a whole lot of press or anything. Like, people in America just didn't like it. I guess probably just because of the seriousness of the matter of it, talking about racism and stuff like that. But in the international kind of film scene, this was loved by a lot of different people in a lot of different countries. So I thought that was kind of interesting too. The other cool thing is the director, Michael Romer. He was a survivor of the Holocaust. He grew up in Germany, and at the age of 11, he was able to escape the Nazi Germany. And because of his past and things of how he was discriminated, wow, I can't, discriminated. Because of how he was discriminated in his youth, he was able to use that, and he actually wanted to make this story. So what he did was he wanted to make a film about basically the Black African American experience. And so he traveled down to the South, which is, like the most racist part of the United States. And he just took it sounded like a long trip, and he just went and started kind of interviewing African American families about their life, and then just living with them. Like, he would ask families, hey, can I just live with you for a few days? And he would stay with families for a couple of days, and then he would move on to like the next small town. And he was in some small town in Mississippi, and he met this man who kind of inspired the character, Duff Anderson. That's the name of the character of the movie. Kind of inspired this whole story. It was this real life man that was talking about the troubles he had with his father and that relationship. And so that was the whole thing that kind of sparked the whole idea of the story. And it was written pretty quick. It looks like when he came back, he wrote the story in a couple weeks with that other guy who ended up being the cinematographer for the movie. So yeah, I thought that was interesting that the whole dynamic of that man and his father was the whole thing that sprung this whole movie. And even he also said, Michael, the director, he said while he was down there in the South that he would, even though he was white, people found out that he was Jewish and still discriminated against him and said awful things to him that he wasn't used to because he, lives up in New York. And anyway, I thought that was kind of interesting. He didn't really make a whole lot of movies other than this one. I think he was really into that independent film scene. I think he made a few others, but he went on to actually be a teacher at Yale. So he taught at a college, so pretty prestigious career that he had. But yeah, this is like a total gem. I'd never heard of it before. And I think that more people need to know about this film. In the 90s, I guess, it was re-released, and that's when a lot of people started finding out about it again. And then it eventually got added to the Library of Congress for its cultural and historic significance. So I thought that was cool. And actually, when I was writing my review of the movie, I was like, this movie should be in the Library of Congress. So I'm happy that I looked it up and it is in the Library of Congress. The other interesting thing too about the film is the majority of the cast is all African American actors. So it's really told from their story, from their point of view, and it's directed and written by a Jewish American who's also has history of discrimination. And so I think the fact that he had that experience, he was able to use that in the film and showcase kind of those tough topics that we have here in America. So what did you think of the film? I know I was rambling for a long time.
I
went off on a
I
long
didn't ever want to interrupt you. I thought this is a really striking piece of film. I feel like the neo-realist style that it's filmed in really adds to the depth of the film because it feels really natural.
Yeah.
It feels like a slice of life. It feels like these are just real life people, real characters. It avoids stereotyping, I think, to a great degree. And it's a really tough watch in some ways because it's obviously dealing with this heavy subject matter, but I think it's really important. I think that one thing that the film delves into that Cole didn't really mention was just how the main character faces discrimination on his job because he mentions to the other black men that are a part of the railroad crew. He says, that if we band together, they'll stop treating us this way. And
that's later in the film. It's actually he gets another job at the
you're right.
Yeah, the sawmill.
It's the sawmill.
Because they're not unionized. So the railroad was unionized.
Right.
And that's why he actually had a pretty good job.
I got it mixed up. Yeah. He's working at a sawmill and he says, if we band together, they wouldn't treat us this way. And somebody turns him in.
They basically rat him out.
For wanting to organize. And it's just it shows how the pressures to just keep your head down and not resist and not
just go with the status quo,
and just accept the maltreatment that is being given to you because you are expected to be treated like a second-class citizen. And I think it's a profound film. I think that the ending is somewhat ambiguous, which some people might find frustrating. I don't know. But I found the ending to ultimately be hopeful, but I don't know. What do you think about that?
The ending, the ending I thought I think it wasn't like an overt this is a happy ending.
Right.
No, we're still black.
It's realistic.
We're still black in America. We're still gonna be treated bad.
Yeah.
But the reason why it's hopeful is because he comes to I don't want to spoil the ending, but he comes to a certain realization in himself.
Yeah.
And there's a phrase he basically says that it's made him free.
Yeah, I've never felt so free, he says.
Yeah, so it's like he's not free from racism and he's not free from all the system of the government, but he's free from the inner turmoil of how he's been thinking about all these different things that happen in the movie, how he's trying to deal with that. And in that sense, it is kind of a hopeful ending because at least he's kind of found comfort within himself, which I thought that was a great way to end the film.
Yeah. And because of its realist style, neo-realist style, I would say it hits those emotional points without feeling emotionally manipulative. It feels very this is realistic. This is how things really are.
Yeah, and this film, just because like I said before, they use people that aren't trained actors. When I was watching it, and this hasn't happened. I mean, sometimes this happens when I watch movies, but it hasn't happened in a while. But I was like watching this movie, and I totally forgot I was watching a movie.
Yeah.
You know, like I felt like I was a fly on the wall, like watching, like these are real people. Like that's like, you know, you almost forget that that's how good the movie is.
Yeah.
You know, that's how good the acting is, how the writing is you forget that you're watching like that these aren't real people, but you feel like they are. And I thought it's a great movie watching experience. We watched it on the Criterion streaming service. It's on there. So if you're able to watch that version, it's good. But you can also watch it for free on YouTube, and we'll link that in the show notes. The quality isn't as good, but yeah, if you have Criterion, or if you feel like the need, like if you want to buy a hard copy of this DVD, definitely go and get that. Because I think it's worth the money. I actually think I'm probably going to do that.
Yeah.
As it was one of my favorite movies that I've watched in a while.
Yeah, I'm glad that podcast that you were listening to,
The
Pure Cinema
podcast, yeah.
podcast, yeah, that we should definitely tag them as well in our notes to lead people to them as well. I'm glad that they talked about it because it introduced you to it, and
yeah, I wouldn't have known about
cool.
it otherwise.
Yeah,
it's kind of just like one of those, you know, those indie films that kind of
Yeah.
get lost because people just don't talk about them enough. So that's why I wanted to showcase that movie on our podcast so that more people will go out and watch it. And I guess the last thing I'll say is, you know, I don't know and will never claim to know what it's like to be black in America, but in some ways I feel like this film helped me kind of see that and have empathy.
yeah,
Not empathy, but have sympathy, I should say, rather. Have sympathy for what people go through sometimes. And
Yeah.
when people hate and don't have understanding and, you know, have hate in their heart. And sometimes when that happens, bad things will lead from that. So
Yeah.
I think it's also a good movie because it helps us remind us that we need to have sympathy for other people that maybe we don't know what they're going through or know what they've experienced, but yeah, just a good reminder. And I guess that's one of my favorite things that I like about the movie as well.
yeah. I totally agree, and I feel like it gave me more understanding and a renewed perspective. And I think it's interesting that it's during the civil rights movement.
Yeah, it's like during
Yeah.
it's like during this, like, this is real. It's
And-
not like
and the
made,
film takes place during that era.
Yeah.
Like the setting of the film is also
down in the South.
during
Yeah.
that era.
Yeah.
So I think it's a real important slice of history, and
Yeah, it's like almost like without the actors, it's almost like you're watching a
yeah,
documentary
yeah,
about like, you know, like
Yeah.
what's going on.
yeah,
Which again, I guess that's what makes the movie so great.
yeah,
And the other thing too, I thought was so interesting too is the relationship between Duff and his future father-in-law, who's the preacher of the town. And there's this whole, like, I don't want to go too much into it because I want people to watch it, but there's like this whole thing of
tension.
yeah, this tension and this kind of you know, Duff kind of feels like that his father-in-law is a hypocrite for, you know, letting certain things slide just so like the peace can be kept.
Yeah,
You know, Duff's kind of a character like, no, he wants change to happen and he doesn't want to have to put up with any of the stuff that's happening to him, which when you're watching it, you're totally on his side and you're totally like, yeah. But there is a lot of nuance with that and that dynamic. So the relationship between those two characters was interesting. And then also just Duff and his wife. That's an interesting relationship. And then him and his father. And then later on, like for a small little section, like between the relationship between Duff and his father, his dad's like girlfriend kind of person. Like it almost seems like at the end, like she wants to get with him. And
oh, you thought that? I didn't
Like-
think that.
I didn't think that it was going to go that way, but like, yeah, because she's like, you want to come back to my place? And he's like, no, I'm going to go home.
Oh, I
And
see. I totally that went over my head. I thought
maybe I'm reading into it too much,
Yeah.
but that's kind of, I thought that was like a little, I don't know if I'm probably reading into it, but I thought that was kind of an
Yeah.
interesting relationship between that character. But
yeah.
yeah, all around great film. Go watch it, and please message us and let us know if you guys liked it.
And I think one last thing that I would just bring up, and I know we've already talked a lot about this movie, but I think it also speaks to the resilience that you can have when you have another person. Because
Yeah.
throughout all of it, he is with his wife and their resilience together.
Yeah, they really do have like a lovely relationship.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
yeah.
rocky parts at sometimes,
Right.
but that's how like real relationships are.
Oh yeah, there's definitely some
So-
hard moments where Duff is angry, and it's not like
It's not like he's not,
it's perfectly smooth sailing
Yeah.
relationship, but
and he's not angry at her. He's like angry
Right.
at all the stuff that's happening to him.
right.
Also, I gotta say, he's got like one of the best mustaches. Like, yeah, I was like, Duff's got an awesome mustache.
Yeah.
Wish I had his mustache. Yeah, like, okay, I know we're beating a dead horse, but yeah, go check out the
Yeah.
film.
Yeah. So Cole picked Nothing But a Man, and after watching it, I really wanted to pick a film that had similar themes and that was centered on Black people living in the South in America. And I wanted it to be a film that was directed around the same time period. And so I did a lot of research online, and I found another film that the film registry by the Library of Congress selected for preservation because it was culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant. And that happened in 2021. And that film is Sounder, which came out in 1972.
Son, don't get too used to this place. I want you to beat the life they got all laid out for you in this place, because there ain't nothing, ain't nobody here. I love you, son.
Sounder was directed by Martin Ritt and adapted by Lon Elder III from a novel which was written in 1969 by William H. Armstrong. And it stars Cicely Tyson, Paul Winfield, and Kevin Hooks. And the music in the film is composed by Taj Mahal. And it's this blues-inspired soundtrack.
Yeah, Taj Mahal is he's a famous blues guy. And
Yeah.
so when I saw that, when we started watching it and I saw that he was on the credits, I was like, oh, Taj Mahal. And then, then you told me like, oh yeah, he did the music for it.
Yeah.
And they also feature a few songs from Lightning Hopkins, who's another famous blues musician.
Yeah.
So I loved it. I loved that the soundtrack gave it that vibe is kind of really interesting, and like the banjo playing, and then anyway.
Yeah.
I love the soundtrack, but yeah, keep going.
Yeah, according to music journalist Robert Christodoulou, it was the first soundtrack ever patterned after a field recording, featuring a succession of hums, moans, claps, and plucked fragments. And also, it's interesting that all of it is in the same key as the gospel blues song Needed Time by Lightning Hopkins.
Which the movie starts out playing that while the credits is rolling.
Yeah, exactly. And then they kind of build off of that theme. This film was nominated for a few Oscars for Best Picture, Best Adapted Screenplay, The two adult leads in it, Cicely Tyson and Paul Winfield, both received Oscar nominations for their performances. And Kevin Hooks, who is their son in the film, their eldest son in the film.
Yeah, he's like the main protagonist.
Yeah, it's a coming of age film, really.
Yeah.
And it focuses on him. Got a Golden Globe nomination for Most Promising Newcomer. And Taj Mahal's score was nominated for a BAFTA and Grammy Award. So definitely a respected film. Like I said, Library of Congress thought it was worthy of preservation.
Which is funny because I've never heard of this film.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of it either until I did research. So kind of what the plot revolves around is it focuses on this family, and it's set in the 1930s during the Great Depression, and they are living in the Deep South during when sharecropping was a big thing. They're sharecroppers, and they sharecrop for their landlord, and it shows the exploitation that they face with that dynamic, for one thing.
And he's also the guy that he's the guy that owns,
he owns
the store.
The company store, and which was really common with
so it's like they gotta go and pay him as well to get the food for them to eat.
Yeah, while they are essentially indentured to him because they owe him debt, because that's how sharecropping worked. It was a really toxic system that was used basically to enrich the owner of the land without truly benefiting the people who worked the land. And anyway, what they're really, really struggling to make ends meet. And the film starts out with them hunting a raccoon with their dog, Sounder. That is what the movie is named after, the dog, Sounder. And they are unsuccessful in their hunt to get the raccoon, and you see how this really affects the father who knows that his family is going to have to go hungry. And long story short, they mysteriously end up with sausages in the morning. And the children are like, where did this meat come from? And the mom's like, where all meat comes from. But we come to find out later in the film that the father had stolen the meat to feed his family. A totally understandable thing to do in such horrible circumstances. And the father is imprisoned and put on trial and sentenced to
it's like a year in prison.
A year of hard labor.
Yeah.
And
because of that, kind of puts pressure on the family because they need to still work. But now that he's gone, he was kind of the guy that helped out a lot. Yeah. I think the father helped out a lot with sharecropping. So the family kind of has to get together and really work hard to make sure that this landowner is paid, and then from there the main story kind of takes off, and you kind of just see what David Lee the boy, like how his life is and what he's got to do. And
a big point in the story is they are trying to find where the labor camp is that the father has been
sent to.
And the boy, who the film is centered on, goes on this journey to try to find this labor camp. And I don't want to spoil this film either. I liked the film. I thought it was also an important film. I especially liked Taj Mahal's contribution.
And he actually has a little acting. He has like a little role in there.
He plays
which is cool.
a role in there as well.
And he plays like the guitar in a couple scenes. So it's cool. He's
Yeah.
actually not a bad actor. So
No,
cool.
not at all.
It's cool to see him do
Yeah.
that.
I will say that I felt like it treated such a heavy subject matter with a somewhat light hand, and that it tried to make a family-friendly film out of something that is, by its very nature, not very family-friendly. And so
Yeah.
sometimes it felt like it avoided exploring the depths of what it's all about, you know, which
Yeah.
is the systemic racism and hardship faced by this family. But that being said, I think it's an important film. And if you were to show a film to children to try to educate them about the subject, this one would not be a bad choice. And it, unlike Nothing But a Man, this film actually was a big success
At the time.
at the box office.
Yeah.
Yeah. What were
Well, when we were talking about it, that like after we finished watching it, we were like, this got a vibe of like Old Yeller or
Yeah.
Where the Red Fern Grows.
exactly?
That type of like kind of Disney family friendly film. Like that's
Yeah.
totally the vibe that this has. But yeah, I do agree. Like, I guess if you wanted to show young kids about the problems with racism, you could show a couple scenes from this film. I think that'd probably be a good idea. Like I said, the music's really good. I love the soundtrack.
Yeah.
To the film. I think it adds a certain nuance to it, and I like that a lot.
Yeah.
The thing that when we were watching, I was trying to figure out. I was like, who's the dad? He looks so familiar. So come to find out, Paul Winfield. He's the main officer, like the detective guy in The Terminator. So that's why I knew him. So he ended up going on to make, he's been in some big movies. So
Yeah.
I especially liked Cecil Tyson. She plays the mom. I thought her role was very moving, in a couple parts. Because she's kind of the one that has to take care of the family while the dad's gone, and I thought her acting was really good. The story is interesting because it kind of focuses on this young boy who has to grow up in this certain time in this certain area, and how he's able to push past all of the the things that are holding him back and from society and whatnot. And anyway, it's a little glimpse into the black experience in America, just like but Nothing But a Man is. This also does that, but in a different way. The feeling is a little different, but
Yeah. I think this film is empathetic. It is a little bit of a softer tone than Nothing But a Man.
Mm-hmm.
It ends with a little bit more hopeful tone. But it definitely doesn't ignore the realities.
it doesn't ignore the subject matter at all.
Right.
Yeah.
I think I would probably give this film a 3.5. Maybe because of the soundtrack, I might bump it up a little bit more, but no, I think a 3.5 is pretty solid. I think Nothing But a Man I would rate higher.
Yeah, I gave Sounder a 3 out of 5.
Okay.
It wasn't my favorite, but I think it was a good movie.
Yeah.
I think in it, like you said, like you were trying to pair a movie that also was trying to get at the same thing, the black experience in America and all that. I think this movie did that for sure. I think that both movies go well together, but Nothing But a Man, that's a great film.
Yeah. I was trying to choose between this and the movie Moonlight to pair with it. And ultimately the deciding factor was that it had been placed into the Registry of Films by the Library of Congress, and also that it was within a relatively similar time period.
Right.
The fact that it was 1971, only several years after the other film.
Yeah.
So
The other thing I was going to mention, I totally forgot about it when I was talking about Nothing But a Man, but did you know that Nothing But a Man, that wasn't the original name for the
Oh, no.
movie? Do you know what the other title was?
no.
It was going to be called Duff Anderson.
Oh wow.
It's just going to be the character's name, and I'm like, that would have been
Interesting.
a horrible name.
Yeah, I don't know. I think,
But like, I think
Nothing But a Man.
Nothing
was
But a
better
Man
choice.
is way better than just
Yeah.
having the character's
Yeah.
name. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that because I thought that was a
Yeah.
funny little detail that I found. So
Yeah.
anyway, go out and watch these films. You can watch Sounder. We were gonna watch it on Tubi, but then like there's like a weird version on Tubi. It's
The
like
quality isn't
the
very
quality is
good.
horrible. So
Yeah.
we'll post a link. You can actually watch it free on YouTube, and the
Yeah.
quality's way better.
Yeah.
So-
There will be ads, unfortunately.
There will be ads, but yeah, we'll add the YouTube link, and you can go watch that for yourself as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks Court for the first movie episode of the year.
Yeah.
This was
Yeah.
fun.
Thank you for choosing the film you chose.
Yeah, so stay tuned, guys, for our next episode. We have a lot planned. We have a lot of different guests that we want to have on this year. So stay tuned, and we're so excited to be sharing new music and new movies with all of you. Thanks.